Hello, 5th and 6th grade. This is your history video for Thursday, December 10th. And it's hard to believe that 2 weeks from tomorrow is Christmas already. It's just gone by so fast. Strange year, but these times will pass as well. Maybe they won't. Maybe the Lord will come back before even the school year, before even tomorrow, before anybody sees this video. Who knows? But what we do know is that we have some work to do. And that work involves page 107. And most of this you're going to find is on page number, on the first page there, on page 140. Although some of it will be on page 140, but some of it will be on page 130, 141 as well. But in any case, let's go ahead and get started. We'll look at the reading on page 139 to start with. And that is, when you look at the night sky, you're looking at some of the same stars that Daniel, Queen Esther, and Nehemiah saw in ancient Persia. The constellation that is now called Orion, for example, would have been familiar to all of them. Perhaps they found comfort in looking at the stars, knowing that people in their homeland of Judea would see those stars too. The study of the stars was important in the ancient Persian Empire, especially to men known as magi. Although our modern word magic comes from the same root as magi, these men were not magicians. They were respected scholars, famous even in other countries. They studied history, agriculture, music, poetry, astronomy, and many other subjects. They often advised kings. Daniel, well trained and more discerning than all his fellow magi, was appointed Rabmag, chief of the wise men, by Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon. When the Medes and Persians conquered Babylon, Daniel was kept in his powerful position. The star that today's astronomers called Sirius was named Tur, Tishtria, or Ruzahang by Persians. In this picture, Amethyst is learning about stars from her father, who's one of the Magi, but they are living more than 500 years after Daniel's time. Amethyst's father tells her to find Tur by looking for 3 stars in a slanted row, and then looking toward the horizon for a bright star in line with them. Because he had studied about Daniel and Queen Esther, he understands what their beliefs were. He wonders whether someday soon a star will herald the birth of the King of the Jews. So every clear evening, he goes to the rooftop and watches toward the east. All right, and so go to page 140, and we'll go ahead and start reading about the empire, about Cyrus II. We'll start with him. It says there, what was he? He was the founder of the Achaemenid Empire. When did he rule? He ruled from 559 to 530 BC. Where did he rule? Ancient Persia. And Cyrus was the conqueror who began the Achaemenid Empire. He chose the city of Pasargadae as his capital. Cyrus II was a tolerant ruler and was respected by both Persians and Greeks for his qualities as a leader. He demonstrated justice, mercy, and kindness. God used him to free the Israelites from their captivity in Babylon. Cyrus restored them to the land of Israel and let them rebuild their temple. Now remember about the Persians were the ones that took over from Babylon, who had captured the southern kingdom and sent them into exile. So an empire is born. About 2 decades after the rise of the Babylonian Empire and only 3 years after the destruction of Jerusalem, 2 nomadic tribes called the Medes and the Persians moved into southwest Asia. You'll recognize that from your reading already, or from your worksheet. It says they settled south of the Caspian Sea in the area that is now Iran. The Medes were stronger until a Persian leader named Cyrus II led a rebellion against the Medes and defeated them. With Persia in control, the 2 nations combined armies and advanced westward into Asia Minor toward the kingdom of Lydia. This land was previously called Phrygia before coming under the control of Lydia. It was a wealthy civilization because of its gold and silver. As the Medo-Persian army neared Lydia, Croesus, Lydia's king, came out to fight them. Cyrus and his army defeated Croesus and captured Lydia's capital city, Sardis. Instead of killing Croesus, Cyrus took him prisoner and allowed him to live in the Persian royal court. Cyrus was a wise conqueror. He allowed his defeated enemies to maintain some measure of self-rule, tolerated their religious beliefs, and restored captive peoples to their homelands. The Persian Empire now extended west to the Aegean Sea. All right, now looking on page number, we're going to go to, I guess we can go ahead and look at the geography here on page 141. Location, it was located in the Middle East, which is now what is now Iran. At the height of Persia's power under Darius I, the Persian Empire extended from the Mediterranean and Aegean Seas in the west to Indus River in the east. Now, remember, we talked about the Indus River already once, and that was in India, if you remember that. All right? And so the climate is mostly arid or semi-arid. Arid meaning basically almost like desert. Cooler temperatures are found in the north with heavy snowfall in winter, especially in the mountains. Summers are hot and dry with temperatures exceeding 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Most of Iran's rainfall occurs along the coast of the Caspian Sea, which is in the northern part there of Iran. Topography. The Zagros Mountains cut diagonally across the country from the northwest to the southeast. The Elburz Mountains line the Caspian Sea. In a central region is a desert plateau. A coastal plain runs along the Caspian Sea, while another marshy plain lies in the southwest. Natural resources. The country's natural resources include petroleum, natural gas, coal, chromium, copper, iron ore, lead, manganese, zinc, and sulfur. Geography and culture. The mountainous terrain encouraged the Persians to develop a strong cavalry for warfare. Cavalry, without the L, cavalry would be, of course, where Christ went, but cavalry is when you're talking about horseback riders or horseback soldiers, basically. The Persian road system allowed the east and the west to be in contact as never before. And so it says to compare this map to the one on page 140, which shows